Hello, SGD, Sacred Geometry Decoded. This will be part 33 of the Science of the Symbols, and I'll be sticking with the alchemical theme. So, alchemy, a lot of stuff around. I must say a lot of it is, tripe, to be frank, and is based on more on what you want it to be, not rather than what the actual alchemists were doing, what they were showing, what they were saying, what they were writing about. So, for instance, George Agricola, his famous book, De Re Metallica, a book on mining, which shows, again, very serious business of mining. Alchemists were heavily engaged with metallurgy, the metals, gold, silver, also, mercury, tin, lead, copper, and iron. And these, again, they were quite skilled at it. And again, so most of these more famous proponents who talk about it will describe alchemy as some sort of little hokey experimental thing that the alchemists did in their, hidden in their labs. No, it was done on a large industrial scale. It was connected, especially with, underground mining and these very important tools here. The furnaces, again, skilled, high quality, very elaborate stuff, which goes back to pre-European alchemy, because the pre-Islamic army were fielding large armies. They were making huge amounts of swords, armor, and all the equipment that goes with it. They had large empires and civilizations. It was not done on some small hokey scale. It just was not. That's just rubbish. So again, we see the texts themselves describe it, the illustrations illustrate it, and so whether it's armies, navies, construction, medicine, banking especially, the alchemical arts are at the heart of power. They are not some little side experimental thing going on. It is just, not only is it missing the point and actually disrespecting what the actual alchemists were doing and perverting it, it's also missing the point of the power of it. And that's so vital, especially from, in inverted commas, the truth community. Stefan Mikkelspacher, we're looking at this picture. So, for instance, we see the 7 metals. Now we also have 7 important gods, like Saturn. Kronos is lead. The thunderbolt of Zeus, or Jupiter, is tin. Artemis, the moon goddess, also known as Diana, is silver by the light of the silvery moon. Mercury, Hermes, god of weights and measures and knowledge and of science and of commerce and of all these other elements, always at the top. The Caduceus, he's Hermes, Mercury, Thoth. The sun, Apollo, for instance. Mars or Aries, the iron. Sun is gold. Iron is Mars. Now, Venus or Aphrodite is also connected to copper, but Venus, the planet, Mars, the Sun, Mercury, the Moon, Jupiter, Saturn, these things connect together. It's part of the quadrivium concept. So we have the planets, we have the gods, and we have these 7 base essential metals of the alchemists. Going back to ancient times, I'm using these are Western European, but they directly connect to previous cultures all around the Mediterranean, but you can extend it to India and China, also to the New World or the Americas as well. Now, where do we get these metals from? You don't just dig up a lump of lead, pure lead. You don't just dig up a lump of pure copper or bismuth or zinc or gold or silver. They come through mining, and in De Re Metallica he explains how they would detect by tasting the water of springs what type of elements would be, or what type of minerals would be found in there. This is galena, so one of the main sources of lead. But it has always is the case, with some very, very rare exceptions. You don't just find pure gold. There's always some pollutant in there. Even when they find those magnificent big nuggets of pure gold, there will be other elements mixed in there. They have to process it, refine it to get pure gold with that stamp 99.999% pure. But galena, so it contains, lead, but also silver, gold and copper, as well as bismuth and zinc and others. And now back to De Re Metallica, and again to dispel this urban legend of the alchemists being, just doing these little desktop experiments. No, they were doing bloody serious business. This furnace shows them separating lead from silver and gold, or all gold, because that's, they had to extract the minerals, and they would use mechanical hammers to beat it into a pulp, not a pulp, into a dust, or smaller particles, and then they would have to apply alchemical processes to get the pure gold or silver from there. Now, for instance, this galena will often include bismuth and copper and bismuth. Now we go to the New World. This is a knife found in Machu Picchu. It's bismuth bronze. Now, bronze is, bronze is an alloy of copper. So this is bismuth bronze in that it's an alloy of copper and bismuth. However, this knife also contains tin bronze. So copper plus tin, also with bismuth, showing again that because it gives it a different colors, different properties. When people often speak about, well, a bronze chisel can't carve this, well, what bronze are you talking about? There's different qualities of bronze. Now, if you introduce impurities into bronze and make arsenical bronze or bismuth bronze or tin bronze, it now changes it. Copper is not some universal, the same substance all the time. If my neighbor grows wonderful tomatoes and I take those seeds in dirt and I put those seeds in my dirt and then my tomatoes don't grow, it's not, well, he grew it in dirt, I grew it in dirt, therefore it must be equal. No, because his dirt has manure and fertilizer and all other sorts of stuff and nutrients. In my dirt is crud, and that's why my tomatoes won't grow. And that's the same thing when they talk about copper or the Mohs hardness scale and all this other stuff. It is so far off reality as, it's almost, you could, I can think all sorts of explanations for it. But so when we're talking about copper or bronze, we need to know these little details. These details matter. They count. They're very, very important. But so different alloys of copper. Now, galena, which would have all these other, we see, for instance, lead, silver, lead being the main source of it. Now, back to these alchemical texts. The metallurgist, they're very important. Now, electrum. The Greeks used to call electrum amber, but now it's thought to be gold and silver. Au, gold, or Ag, silver. That's the chemical symbols for them. Now, electrum, you don't just get pure gold or pure silver out of the earth. Sometimes you'll find some concentrated nuggets, but usually it comes in even, for instance, this nugget here of electrum is more on the rare scale. Usually you'll find it more like this, where you have all these different metals coming together in veins of rock. And just like miners today, you need to break this rock up into pieces and process it with alchemical processes to purify and extract the metal that you're looking for. So electrum, gold and silver. Electrum coins, so ancient coins would be often made of electrum. People say, well, it's a gold coin. Well, it's a majority of it is gold, but it also will contain a portion of silver, because electrum is less it won't bend as much, like a gold coin will tend to bend. Some of the oldest and most valuable coins are Lydian coins from King Croesus. They were electrum coins, even though they could separate lead and silver, gold and silver, but the coins were valuable because it was a guaranteed percentage of gold and silver. As we're more unscrupulous people would water it down with more silver, and therefore they even though it was technically a gold coin, it was less valuable because people didn't trust the quantity of it. But even long after King Croesus had gone, Lydian coins retained their value because they were trusted. They knew what percentage you were getting. Banking, military, industrial, this is very important. Mr. Burns lives on the corner of Croesus and Mammon, but Croesus being the king most famous for wealth because of these coins. He funded the last of the temples of Ephesus. temples of Artemis in Ephesus as well, which I've touched on earlier, but I won't go repeat those now. But this is very potent, very important. So, alchemy again is, okay, you can do your stuff or whatever and say, well, that's alchemy. But what were the actual alchemists doing? They were in the very center of banking, politics and military, bronze swords, iron swords, weapons, funding political campaigns, funding military campaigns, funding kings and fractions and empires. This is the serious business of alchemy, which is missing from so many of the Kumbaya stuff. And so Kumbaya alchemy will be the end of us all, because it's dumbing us down to what it actually was and the actual potency of it and its historical impact, as compared to, well, let's get in a drum circle, do some chants, we'll go away for a weekend. I'm a banker, I'm a, office worker during the week, but, one weekend a year I go and bang on some drums and do some chants, and, I'm an alchemist now. No, you're not. You're not even bloody close to it. If you ignore this aspect of alchemy, you might as well just throw it in the rubbish, because you're missing the essence of it, the foundation stones of it. This is the business of alchemy. Or you can preach peace and soul and stuff, but this is, the alchemists themselves are the military industrial banking complex. Or they're using alchemy. Alchemy is a sword. It can be used for different things. But if you're not understanding this, well, you're just missing the point. I could do a bunch of Edward Bernays quotes on dumbing down, but Kurt Gödel, brilliant guy, mathematician, logician, but he died of starvation in a mental hospital because he believed he was being poisoned. But he also believed it was a vast conspiracy to promote ignorance. And in that case, I would have to agree by the evidence of it. Ernest Rutherford, the father of nuclear physics, as he's called, quoted as saying, "I am an alchemist." And one quote where he was writing a letter to a friend: "For Mike's sake, Soddy, don't call it transmutation. I'll have our heads off as alchemists. Alchemy now has a dirty word. Isaac Newton is considered a god of the modern rationalists, and it's pretty much ignored that he was an alchemist, because alchemy is now connected with Harry Potter and Kumbaya drum circles, rather than the actual serious deadly business, which is alchemy now and what it was historically thousands of years back. It's the business of empires and armies and banking and of factions and of dynasties, and those people who held dynasties understand alchemy. Electrum, alchemy, these symbols, they're very, very important. They are part of your birthright. They are part of your heritage. And if you choose to go for, we can lift stones, we can cut stones, we can do these things. If you choose that path, well, good on you. I'm not joining you on that path, because it's untrue. It is untrue. It is part of misinfotainment, which is so popular now, but it is dangerous. So, especially this concept of rebus and a hermaphrodite. So whether it's rebus, as often this hermaphrodite, again, you get this McKenna-esque interpretations of it. They maybe a few sentences here or there, but then there will be pages, reams and reams about this other stuff connected to it, missing the point entirely. I can't help but think it's intentional. But rebus, the hermaphrodite, the alchemical wedding of sun and moon. Male sun, gold, female moon, silver, connected via Azoth or Mercury. And previous episode I mentioned the importance of Mercury as in processing gold and silver and other copper and the other main elements as well. This is what it is. Azoth, rebus, alchemical wedding. This is a serious business of alchemy historically to this day. Armies, navies, banking. This is it. Alchemy is a deadly serious business. It really, really is. I cannot emphasize that enough. And well, misinfotainment will be the death of us all. Have a good one.